sure thing. Change, change. Expect a miracle change. Watch me change when you change the way you look at things. The things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Now do 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 change. Do 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 change. Do 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 change. Do 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 do.
Good afternoon and welcome to Spirit Cafe. I'm Barbara Schreiner Trudell and I'm here with my wonderful co-host Cheryl Rogers. And as we begin today, I would like to start with our land acknowledgement. And we are honored to work, live, and play on the historical and traditional territory of many Indigenous nations, including the Anishinaabe, the Wendat peoples, and more recently, the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Haudenosaunee nations. And we acknowledge the diverse First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island. And by making this acknowledgement, we strive to be allies and an active part of reconciliation. We honor the unique heritage and history of our First People, and we recognize our oneness, we realize our history, and we choose to create a new reality. We are one. Miigwech.
Miigwech.
Wow, Cheryl, we're back.
Yes, we are. And talking about changing times, my goodness, right?
Well, I think we had such a big interrupt over the last 3 years, what with COVID and locking us down and not being able to get out and shop, not being able to visit family and friends. All of the different things that are going on, I think, has created a level of anxiety that we haven't seen in many, many, many years.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just compounded by everything that goes on around us, the media, and then the fear that sort of it's almost like a frenzy that it all creates, right? And then the stress and the tiredness that many people are experiencing right now. Everyone I speak to, it's only the 11th of January. And everybody's like, wow, is there something in the air? Is there an energy shift? Like, what's going on?
Well, and I think with the 24-hour news cycle that the perpetuation of fear is beyond anything we would have known, maybe even 25 or 30 years ago. Everything's elevated because of that. It's like this constant bombardment. I just want to say a big hello to Samuel. Hello, Samuel. And also to Fiona. We're so glad that you're here with us again this week. And Wayne is in the house. Yay. So we're just talking about the effects that the last 3 years have had. It really has caused a bit of trauma for us trying to figure out how to deal with the big changes that have occurred and how rapidly they occurred.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure why, things have escalated to the level that they have. But one of the conversations I hear often is, I just want to get back to normal, or I just want to get back to things the way they were. And I think that will never happen. I think the way things were brought us to the point that it did. And now there's a new norm being created, or a new way of being that we're being called to, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me is the really important next step. I think a lot of our anxiety comes from, trying to resist what is, and then trying to, go backwards.
Right. And to fit into an old paradigm.
That's it exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Fitting into the old paradigm can't work because that no longer exists, right?
Yeah.
It's done. And so we're in a position now where the way we view everything creates the way we feel about it. And I was working on something earlier today, this idea of going from trauma to triumph, because, it's kind of my life story, is that you have to begin within your own mind to start to change the way you perceive the world around us, right? Like, as we perceive the world as broken, bad, wrong, evil, horrible, the events of the last few years, if we label them that way, what happens is that becomes our experience.
Yeah.
Right? We've said it's bad, and then right away there's a negative reaction that happens in our bodies, and we end up with a big struggle as a result of that. And I think that's the thing that we have control over.
Yeah.
We can't control the world around us, but we can control how we think about it.
Yeah. And I think that's a very, very important point, Barbara. I was speaking to somebody yesterday who was really feeling quite down and depressed. And she knows, intellectually, that she can change the way that we create things, right? But she can't help how she's feeling right now. It's like intellectually, I know. And I'm still so sad. I'm so depressed. I worry about the future of my children, and all those kind of things. And then she started telling me why, this World Health Economic System and all these kind of things. And I said, well, I've been listening to some really positive things about this time that we're going through. And yes, it's not easy, and it's disruptive, and it appears to be just so destructive. And it's like the end of an era. It's the end of an age. And so in order for that to shift into a new era, this all has to come to the surface so that it can be let go of, and so that we can be more aware and create a new future together.
Yeah. And I love what Fiona just posted. The COVID years have allowed grateful and graceful connection in different ways, like connecting on the New Thought Media Network.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. That's so true. It has allowed for us to spend more time here. And I know there's some people who are, not thrilled about the idea of being online with everything. And I understand that, but we can also look at the plus of it. It's like you and I are in different cities. We are about a little over an hour apart if we were to drive it. And
on the 401, it's probably at least 2 hours, if not more.
okay. All right. So 2 hours between you and I. And here we are. We didn't have to travel to a studio. We didn't have to do any of those things. We're right here and we're connected. I think one of the other things I've noticed, when we look at this call, even we've got people here from Toronto, we've got people here from Geneva, and we've got somebody here from Calgary. So when we take these are pretty diverse locations on the map.
Yeah.
So I think, when we begin to perceive things in a different way, and one of the things I like to suggest is that every event is neutral. And the reason I say it's neutral is because whoever's viewing it will decide what it is. And those viewpoints can differ. And so who's right? Right? I look at my
no
family.
right and wrong.
Exactly. It's like
it's the meaning we give it, the meaning we give it, the way we perceive it in our minds, which can change. And, people often say, how can you change the past? Well, it's quite easy, right? Change the story.
Change the story, change the way you think about it.
Yeah.
Look at it
the way you perceive it. Yeah. Look at it from a different angle and see something different. Appreciate the good that probably came out of, this negative story that we keep telling ourselves.
Well, that's it. When we can look at it from a different vantage point, it does change. When we look at, like, when I look at those first few months where we were locked in, and the trees and the grasses and everything flourished,
Mhm.
animal life flourished the minute we were taken out of the equation. So that tells me a lot about the impact that humanity has on this earth plane. So if we can turn around and begin to shift our perceptions, the way we think about things, we can begin to create, I think, with a greater level of appreciation for what is. Because I think that's the big confusion, is we look at something we don't like and we want to change it. So we resist it immediately. Whereas if we were to look at it and go, well, it is what it is. Now what? So whatever I'm thinking now is going to create my next experience, my next
Mhm.
moment. So what am I in a place of frustration, annoyance, hatred, or am I in a place of, well, let me see, where do I want to go? And into a place of receptivity and even gratitude that, you know what, I'm on this side of the grass. So let's start
Mhm.
there. That's the good news. And then from there, move forward. So I think there's a lot that we can accomplish by changing the way we think about circumstance. I was watching something on YouTube earlier today, and it was something that we actually experienced at the Unity Convention, was the idea of havening. And I thought, oh, this is such a cool thing because
Mhm.
the gentleman that I was listening to is talking about the body as a container, which of course it is. It's a container of our essence, our spirit, our soul, whatever you want to call it. And it's the thing that is reacting to what's going on around us. And the idea of havening was, to rub the hands together and get them warm, and then begin to caress the body in a way that reconnects us to the physical, that all of a sudden we become back to this container. And there's a level, he talked about doing that over and over again, and how by connecting again to the body, and he said to, start by giving yourself a big hug, holding your right hand under your left arm next to your heart, and then reaching across and feeling, like closing your eyes and feeling that connection to the body. And I thought, what a great way to begin to calm ourselves down, because we move out of our imagination of terrible, bad, and wrong to a place of, okay, I'm in this body. I'm in this body, and right now I'm safe. I'm secure. All is well. So we come to that place of, yes, yes, here I am. And by doing that, I think we start to get anchored back into the here and now,
Mhm.
and taking a breath, right? Breathing in a slow, concise way to just sort of again get from out there back in here, and just take those few breaths to just go, yes. And as we calm down, then begin from there to go, now what? And I think we want to get a whole new vision of where the world can go. And I think we have to start by shutting the news off.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to watch the news, watch it early in the day, one
Mhm.
round,
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
because they just keep repeating it
I
over
think,
and over.
yeah. And I think what you said is so beautiful, Barbara, really lovely. And, that's what it's about. It's about reconnecting. You see, there was a sign there. Did you see that flash of light?
Mhm.
Anyway, I think that's what it's about. It's about reconnecting with ourselves. It's about going within and
Yeah,
stop looking on what's happening outside of us.
yeah,
Because the only way that we can calm ourselves, the only way that we can deal with stress, that we can deal with our health issues, which is being caused by the stress,
yes,
and the fear and all those things, because they definitely have an impact on the cells of our body. And so it's really important to start going within and being still and just, doing those exercises that you spoke about. Maybe even just, if you don't meditate, just sitting still for 5 minutes with your eyes closed,
Yeah.
and really reconnecting with your heart center. When we talk about this and this past 3 years, I often think about maybe that's what it's all about. It's all about us thinking about this, talking about this, creating a new awareness. You spoke about how nature thrived when we were taken out of the picture. Maybe that was part of it, to show us nature can survive without us. We can't survive without nature, right?
That's a
We
very
and
valuable point.
we are part of nature. We are one. We are connected, and
Yeah.
nature can survive without us.
Well,
So
that's
yeah,
the thing, right? We can't destroy the planet,
no,
but we can make it uninhabitable for us.
yes,
And
exactly.
and then it will completely restore itself and be fine.
That's it. And and people have said, and I truly believe that the earth will take care of itself.
Yeah, I
And if that
agree.
needs, if that means, I don't know, eliminating the harms that are causing it to not flourish, well, then that's what it will do, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot of different things we can do. Like I know you and I became vegan a few months back after hearing about just the impact of agriculture and raising cattle and all these
Hmm.
things, the impact that's
Hmm.
having on the world, just like the emissions from industry and automobiles. It's like the two go hand in hand. We need
Hmm.
trees to remove that carbon from the
Hmm.
air, from the ozone level. It's, when we think about life overall, and Fiona has put in a suggestion. She says she doesn't watch American news. That's
Hmm.
good.
Yeah,
Um,
excellent.
yeah, but she's talking about Dr. Heather Cox Richards' daily political analysis and recommends that. So we'll have to check that out and
Yeah,
see
me
what
too.
that's about, because I think, what we want to do is have the information we need in order to live a productive life, and at the same time not get so consumed by fear that we're frozen and cannot move forward.
Hmm.
And I think that's the challenge for some people right now, is that there's a deep sense of despair that somehow I'm not going to make it through, or my family's not going to make it through, or I can't stand this anymore. And
Hmm.
all of these things that we're thinking, they build up an emotion within us. The emotion is negative. It raises our blood pressure. It reduces our life expectancy. It gets blocked in the body if we don't deal with it and move it. And then it can form all kinds of things, arthritis and cancers and whatever. It's like the body is part of our journey. And as spiritual beings, this body is necessary for our life experience. And so it's so important to find a way to balance what we're seeing, thinking, doing, and recognize that, there's a oneness here between spirit and body, and I
Hmm.
need to honor both.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
I think sometimes we forget that when we get on the spiritual path.
And it's taking care of that, right? This is the vehicle. This is the Sadhguru calls it the machine,
Yeah.
right? And that's what it is. And so we have to take care of it,
Mhm.
if we want to be able to live in this body a good, healthy existence. And part of that is the way we think, and that's very important for sure. Yeah.
I've been doing a series on my on my podcast around spiritual law, and I just put up the law of thinking today. The what we think about, the way we think produces a whole chemical reaction in the
Mm,
body, and of course it impacts the body. So the more that we can come to a place of acceptance of what is, not that we're going to settle for, but rather, oh, okay, so this is what today looks like. And then from there, make a positive decision as to where I want to move to or where I want to go to. And when we're feeling anxiety, when we're feeling a sense of despair or grief, to actually feel what we're feeling.
mhm,
Too often we try to suppress, right? Oh, let me make it go away because I don't like it. But the truth is, what we want to do is move through it, which
mhm,
means we have to acknowledge it, we have to feel it, be with it. And as we feel the grief or the anger or the sadness, we don't need to project it onto anybody else. We need to just experience it for ourselves. And as we move through it, we can begin to create something new from that.
mhm,
Because if I don't want to feel angry, then what do I want?
mhm,
And we know that we have within us all the attributes of this universe. Everything's there. All we
mhm,
have to do is choose it. So
mhm.
we choose a new idea, a
Yeah.
new way of being.
I feel the need to say that, when we do feel that way, like I know from experience, right? I've suffered from depression. I still do at times. And I think what's important is to a number of things. Firstly, to realize you're not alone.
Yes.
No, you're not alone. Many people are going through the same thing, and there are people out there that love you and care about you.
Yes.
And so, one of the things that I found really helped, even though it was so difficult to do, was to actually reach out to people, just to go and visit a good friend, even if
Yeah.
I wasn't feeling good, just to be in their company and have a coffee and maybe not even say anything, or but to actually make myself do that. There were days that I would stay in bed, and I would give myself permission. I would give
Yeah.
myself permission to do that and just to feel that way. But I didn't want to get stuck in it, because I know I've been there too, right? And so, I think it's important for people to recognize that when we're in this space, we're not alone, and reach out to somebody, somebody you can trust, somebody even who maybe doesn't know you, and you don't even have to say a word about what you're going through, but you just have coffee with them, whatever it is. Because I find that by doing that kind of thing, it somehow shifts an energy within me. And so each day gets better and better. And then I'm able to consciously choose my thoughts, because when I'm in that place, it feels like it feels like like I can't. I know that I can, but it doesn't feel that way. And
Yeah.
so, recognizing that this is part of being human, this is the process. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's not the end of the world, or it's not
No.
the end of my world.
Yeah, and it'll change. It'll
Yeah.
change. Things are constantly changing. I have an interesting story about being in a state of depression. I remember years ago when my husband had left me, and I was left with my little children, and I was very despondent and just struggling immensely, and decided that the way out was suicide, and put a plan in place, what I was going to do, got my children cared for, and was getting ready to leave the house when my phone rang. And so it rang a couple times. Finally, I picked it up, and it was a woman that I did not know. She was somebody who attended the same church as me, and she sat 3 or 4 rows behind me because everybody had their place that they
Mhm,
liked to sit. And, so I had been on her mind, and she said, "I don't know why I'm phoning you.
mhm,
I'm that woman who sits 3 rows back, dark hair," so I could figure out who it was. And I went, "Okay." And she said, you've just been on my mind and I can't get you off. So I figured I better phone. And I went, well, I'm in a bit of a hurry. I need to go. And she's going, yeah, but I don't know. There's something I need to talk to you. And so we kind of went back and forth a little bit. And then finally it struck me that this was the interrupt. This was the thing I needed.
Mm.
And I broke into tears and shared what I had been planning to do.
Ooh, I've got goosebumps.
And of course, I didn't do it, obviously. But it was like this unknown person who just intuitively knew that I needed something, and then broke past her fear of calling a complete stranger, right?
Right.
And saying, I don't know why I'm calling you, but I need to. It saved my life. It saved my life. And I think the idea of connection that you brought up is such an important one, because one of the things that did happen through the whole COVID thing is that it was all about separation. You know, we got to be 6 feet apart, or we've got to be masked, or we can't be in the same room. We have to be somewhere else. Yes, thank you, Wayne. That's great. Open-hearted channel. Yeah, absolutely. So what we're doing right now is reconnecting. And I think it's so important. And even telling people how we're feeling, what's going on for us. I think talking about the pain, because so often we suppress it.
Yeah.
And we need to share it in
Yeah.
order to heal. That's why these 12-step groups work. You know, AA, it's, you know, somebody's going to stand up and say, here's my story, and get a thank you from people, rather than, oh, you're such a loser, you're an idiot. But rather that love comes back. And you're absolutely right. The more we can connect, the better. And wherever we go, I think that's kind of the biggest shift if we want to actually begin to thrive coming out of this experience. It has to be from a perspective of moving forward, rather than trying to regain what we lost. What we lost, needed to lose. It's done.
Absolutely. And great point that we needed to lose what we lost. And so this is also an opportunity. And it's another thing that I have noticed with the people around me. They're choosing who to have in their lives, right? So letting go of anybody who has had a toxic effect on them, you know, whether it be that person or in their own minds, whatever the case may be, right? But really surrounding ourselves with people who energize us, who bring us joy. You know, I think that's what's so important as well, is to recognize that we don't have to, and this sounds callous, we don't have to waste our time, right, with people, you know, that are just taking up space and breathing in my oxygen kind of thing, because sometimes I feel like that. And not to, we don't have to be negative about it. I can still send that person love. I can still, you know, but I can do that from a distance. I don't need to have them in my space.
And I think that's an important one, like Wayne just put in the chat, boundaries. Creating good boundaries is a great idea. We're going to go to a commercial break here now, and we'll be right back. This is Spirit Cafe. I'm Barbara. This is my beloved sister, Cheryl. Sister from another mother, another country. Sister nonetheless. Don't go away. We'll be back in just a minute or two.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
New Thought Media Network is on the rise. We're looking to grow with you. Do you have technical media experience, or perhaps a desire to learn? Are Are you willing to volunteer your precious time and attention? We share this message to benefit all. If you possess a computer with a camera and a microphone, we will share our knowledge with you. Behind the scenes or being the star, let us bless our one. Contact us at info@ntmedia.org.
Welcome back to Spirit Cafe. So we were just talking about sort of the effects of the last 3 years of COVID, lockdown, all the fear, doubt, and worry, and how we can maybe manage it a little bit better and recognize that, there's something going on, but most of it's happening within us, and we can change that. We can change how we view the world, how we view the circumstance around us, and we can choose to be grateful for what we have, allowing that to expand and grow. So, oh my goodness, what a topic,
Yeah.
eh?
Well, interesting. So during the break, I was thinking, okay, so let's talk about, so how can we shift this energy? How can we move into a positive space and be re-energized, and all that kind of thing? And I'm watching the ads during the break, and I'm like, well, one of the ways is New Thought Media Network. Right? I mean, look at all these wonderful shows, these prayer opportunities, circles, just great speakers, somebody who talks about grief and, all these kind of things. So what an amazing resource for people. So I would encourage those that are here to share it with your friends, and let this be something that they listen to during the day, like you'd listen to the radio, something like that. So I really think that's a great way. And then there's, meditation, and there's, I love coloring in, these adult coloring in books. I just love that. It really sort of takes my mind away from everything. And I'm just in that moment coloring in. Right. What about you?
I have a bunch of those coloring books, and it really does take your mind away from whatever's been going on. The other thing I've taken up recently again, because I did it for years and then just took a break and sort of forgot about it. But I was reading the new book by Michelle Obama, and she was talking about taking up knitting. And how that, it gives her something to do, but it just changes how you feel about things. And it has such a calming influence. And then you accomplish something as well, which is really wonderful. So you can be listening to the New Thought Media Network and knitting at the same time, or coloring and receiving all that great information. And the prayers, like there's so many prayer shows, and prayer is such a fascinating thing. When we look at it from a place of having the power within us. So the type of prayer that I do is called spiritual mind treatment. And it's really about treating the mind to know something new, something better, something positive. And it's always done positive now. And I always do it in the first person. So, when I'm speaking about how I want to feel, if I'm feeling sick or down, I'm going to sit back and go, I am health. I am health. And I'm going to allow that to kind of be my mantra, that I'm not going to sit there and talk in my mind and go, oh, I'm so sick, because I just feel worse and worse and worse.
Mhm.
But if I get up and move a little bit and go,
Mhm.
I am health, and health is my birthright, and health is what I am, and this body responds perfectly to
So
the thought.
finding affirmations that work for you, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Affirming how you would like to feel as as if it's happening now, right? Affirming that
Exactly.
it is so. Because also, the body, the subconscious doesn't know the difference between what's real and what isn't, right?
No, it
And
doesn't.
we know that with our thoughts, words, and deeds, we create. So when
Yeah.
we affirm something is that way, we're
Yes.
actually putting it in place to be.
Yeah, it's all of a sudden we change, our whole body changes. I mean, you think about when you crawl out of bed in the morning, if you stand up and go, "Oh, another great day," how that feels in the body.
Mhm,
Or if you kind of hunker down like this and go, "Oh, I'm so sad," or "I'm so sad," and, energetically it just drops.
mhm.
And you can do that simply by having a thought. My
Yeah.
son was sharing with me because we work out together, and sometimes the workouts are pretty intense. And when you're working out really hard, sometimes it's easy to go, "Oh, this hurts so much," or "I hate this," and he was talking about when he was doing fasting. And part of what he would do is the minute he felt the urge to eat something, he would change his mind. He would sit back and go, "Oh, I here's something I can do," or "Here's, what about this?" And just take it off of food and put it somewhere else. And
Mhm,
what happens is he goes through the process of fasting really easy. I
mhm,
do 16-hour fasts, probably 6 out of 7 days a week. And that 16 hours is getting easier and easier and easier.
mhm,
I have my dinner at 6 at night, and then I eat again the next day around lunchtime or 11 or whatever. And what happens is it just creates a greater sense of comfort in the body because we're not consuming so much. And I think,
mhm,
when we look at how much we consume and how it impacts our body, we need to also look at how we live and how we're consuming
mhm.
products and services, and
Yeah.
you know, how that consumption is weighing us down and
Weighing
hindering.
us and the planet down.
Exactly,
Yeah, for
exactly.
sure. I do have a confession. I'm not vegan. I do try and be vegan, but I'm not vegan.
You're not there yet?
Not there yet. I so wanted to be, but not yet. I buy vegan products, and I do include the vegan things in my diet.
Mhm.
Yeah, but not there yet. So
Not quite
kudos
there
to you.
yet.
I don't have a husband that cooks vegan for me. It makes it a whole lot easier.
Oh, you know what? I am so blessed because my husband does. He cooks for me. He creates these amazing recipes. He'll take ones that we've liked before, and then he goes online and he goes, "Okay, how do I make this vegan?" And he makes an incredible eggplant parmesan, all vegan. He does.
What
he,
can I
d-
say?
he does a spaghetti squash with pine nuts and sun-dried tomatoes that is next level. Um, so there's all these great dishes that he makes for me
Mhm,
that
mhm,
has made it easy for me to
mhm,
maintain
mhm.
this uh, this vegan way of living, and
Yeah,
I feel good.
yeah,
It feels good in my body, and
yeah.
um, that's an important that's an important part of it. But I think we have to do what works for us and do it in a gentle way. So I
Mhm,
really love that, you're making that strive, um, and just patting yourself on the back for doing what you are doing,
mhm,
because it is making a difference. Every one
mhm,
of us that steps into a way of living that honors the self,
mhm.
spirit, soul, and body. I think that's when we begin to create a world that actually does work for the highest and best of all people,
Right. Yeah.
because we have to love ourselves. I think one of the great lies is that I am not enough.
Mhm,
And a lot of people feel that way, that
mhm,
somehow they're simply not enough.
or I'm a failure, right? I'm a
Yeah, I
failure
agree.
because I wasn't able to keep that up, kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Like I should have been able to, or like there's a whole bunch of ways that we kind of beat ourselves up, feeling guilty or ashamed because we set a goal and didn't accomplish it, or just feeling bad about ourselves because, we went on a diet and we couldn't finish it,
Mhm.
or we struggled with it, or we were really doing all this and still gaining weight. Like, or that somehow we're not managing our finances in a way that works for our best friend, like it should work for us too. Like there's all these ways that we judge and criticize ourselves.
Yeah,
That's if we want to ever accomplish a world that is peaceful, it has to start individually. I
that's
have to
right.
find peace in me,
Mhm.
regardless of the circumstances that are surrounding me.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I think I don't know if the word enlightenment is appropriate, but when you're able to do that in any circumstance,
Yes.
I think that's what we strive to do, what we strive to be, is just to be calm and peaceful and loving in any circumstance, no matter what is going on around us.
Mhm.
That is
And
the
it doesn't
challenge.
mean Yeah, well, and it doesn't mean that we don't feel something, right?
No,
Like
yeah,
we can be, sitting in rush hour traffic and feeling anxious and overwhelmed about it. And then we can begin to talk to ourselves about, you know what? I can't change this. It's like the serenity prayer, right?
yeah,
Accepting the things you can change and having the wisdom to know what you can and can't, like how
yeah.
that makes a difference. I think that's the big thing for us to learn is that I have no control over the world around me.
Mhm.
I have no control over the people around me. However, I have complete control over the way I think about my life, my body, my experiences, how I think about my place in the world. I have
Mhm.
complete control over that.
Mhm.
And I think that's sometimes what we forget is because our thoughts are so rampant and all over the place, I think sometimes they run us rather than us running them.
100%. I think it's the illusion that others can do something to us. Others can make us feel a certain way. Well,
Yeah,
that's not true, right? It's all coming from within. It's how we allow the
yeah,
outside to impact us on the inside. And so
exactly.
when we recognize that, we can stop allowing it, and recognize that that's not our stuff; it's theirs.
Mhm. And we don't need to take responsibility for somebody else, and we don't need to react to somebody else. We
Yeah.
need to just honor what's going on for ourselves. And then when we're troubled, deal with the trouble.
Hmm.
Go inside and, when have I felt this way before? And what do I need right now? And then
Hmm.
of course we have to meet our own needs.
Hmm.
No one
Yeah.
else can. Like if
Hmm.
I'm feeling down in the dumps, I can't expect you to fix it. I have to fix it. And this can sometimes be, difficult for a lot of people to sort of wrap their head around is that I am responsible for my life and all that it is and all that it looks like and all that I've experienced. And that might be called the bad news. The good news is I'm responsible for my life, all that it is, all that it has been, all that it will be. And that's the good news. Because if I created it and it isn't working, then I can recreate it
Hmm.
in a way that will allow it to work. So it's
Hmm.
about acknowledge that I have the power to change the circumstances of my life. I have the power to create a life that is fulfilling and satisfying.
And that's how we change the world,
That's it. Yes.
right? One person at a time, and that
Yeah,
starts with me.
exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. Yeah,
Hmm.
the only place I can work is within myself.
Hmm.
And, the minute I get that, not to, if something negative is happening in my life, I'm not going to blame myself, right? I'm not saying, oh, yeah, you idiot, look what you did. What I'm doing instead is acknowledging that, oh, okay, something in me, usually something deep in the subconscious mind, is providing all these glorious circumstances. The minute we can see them, we can change them.
Mm-hmm.
We have that ability, but there's something in us. And that's why I always ask the question, when have I felt this way before? Because a memory will pop up
Yeah.
that may well have been the very seed that got this story going.
Right.
And as I acknowledge that, then I can change it by planting a new idea through affirmations, or even sometimes just having the awareness of where I got started on this allows me to change it immediately, because awareness is power.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's an interesting one for me, Barbara, because I often wonder about how far back do we need to go and remember, and whether we need to, and this is just stuff that goes on in my head, right? Because if you think about counseling, in the old days, counseling was go back and rehash, and this is from your childhood and blah blah blah. And now counseling, I've found, is more about, okay, what is the circumstance, how are you feeling, how do you want to feel, let's make that happen.
Let's make
Right?
it happen. Yeah.
Right, without having to go back. So there's two schools of thought, and I don't think either one is right or wrong. But I find it very fascinating and very interesting, and I'm really excited about how science is bringing this kind of thing together. When we talk about Dr. Joe Dispenza, for example, rewiring the brain. That's another great resource. I mean, if anybody hasn't heard about him or heard him talk, I would, seriously suggest looking him up, because he's quite amazing. And this is science. This is not just, woo-woo stuff.
Well, and it's fascinating because I was talking Monday night in service about the science and the spirituality being one and the same, and how Swami Yoga Vivekananda was talking about how science actually proves what the Hindus have always known.
Yeah.
That there's an energy connection where we're connected vibrationally, and the vibrations as they move are the things that impact us. And so it was fascinating to talk about that and begin to look at how things are perceived, but how they are really. Because everything we view, we don't see with our eyes, we see with our mind.
Yes.
So that perception that we hold about anything is going to impact how it actually looks for us, and then where we can take it. But I like the idea of, just kind of switching it up and going, like, I don't believe in dredging up the past. But what I'll do is I will sit back when when I feel really strongly about something. It's like, whoa, when have I felt that way before? And there'll be an instant memory that will pop in, probably has nothing to do with anything. But it's in the moment that I see that I go, oh my gosh, I don't believe that anymore. And then the shift occurs, and it happens quickly.
Yeah.
And it's a change in mind. It's like when I healed my body from all the pain of the spinal stenosis, it was merely just an idea. If Myrtle Fillmore could heal her body of tuberculosis in the 1800s through the power of prayer, well, then surely I can do it now. And it was that idea that just created that shift from whatever the old thinking was. So I didn't have to go back and dig anything up. It was a new idea, erased whatever had brought me to that point.
Beautiful.
And the healing happened.
Yeah. And so for me, when I hear the word prayer, I almost feel the need to sort of talk about what that looks like for us, right? It's not beseeching something outside of ourselves to do
I know.
anything for us. It's really just like we were talking earlier, affirming and affirming things in a way that it's a knowing. So it's
Yes.
the faith, it's the trust in the affirmation that we are saying, I am healthy, healed, and whole, and
Yeah.
believing that that is what prayer is for us.
Well, it is. And the way we do prayer and New Thought is really about acknowledging that there's a power in the universe that is everywhere present,
Mm-hmm.
and it is all powerful, it's all knowing. So if it's everywhere present, it's right here,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not separate from, not up in the sky, but this energy is the cells of my body, the activity of my mind, and the journey I walk, just as it is Cheryl as well. And so we acknowledge that. We acknowledge that there's this intelligence in the universe. We acknowledge that it's right where we are.
Mm-hmm.
And then we make an affirmative statement. We're not
Right.
asking for health. No, we're acknowledging I am that. We're not
Yes.
asking for, money to come into our life. We're acknowledging that we're one with the source of all things. So
Mm-hmm.
therefore, all that we have need of is present right here. And then we're being grateful, like I'm so grateful for this awareness and understanding. So all we're doing is we're anchoring a new idea in our minds, not
Right.
from, oh God, please give me this, give me that. No, it's all about going, I am an integral part of a dynamic universe.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
all that is present
Yes.
right where
And
I
I
am.
I love that. And I love Fiona, what Fiona says, perception is multi-dimensional, so not only visual. And
Exactly.
absolutely, right. And these are the things that I find so exciting. We limit ourselves in our thinking when we only think, about reality, about the one power, one presence everywhere as being this big. But really, it's so big, it's incomprehensible to the human mind, right?
Exactly.
The dimensions and the creation of everything that is.
Yeah, we're so stuck in our little box. We,
Yes,
we think this is who we are.
I am not the body. This is the body that I am housing myself in right now.
Exactly.
This
This
is
is my
my
home
home
away from home.
for now. And to appreciate that, like I do, like, so, I really do. I talk to my body and I say, thank you for working so well. And thank you, for all those things that I'm able to do. And I look at it as the body, I have to apologize to this body because I don't look after it as well as I could. And I recognize that, and I do let it know that I'm aware of it.
Yeah.
And healing takes place when you're able to love and see each cell in your body functioning well and happy and healthy. And that's how Myrtle did it. She spoke to her cells, she spoke
Spoke to
to
her body.
her body, and she loved it into being healthy.
And that's the key, right? Is to take love as the answer to everything. That
Mm-hmm.
love is the way that we solve all things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Fiona just said, cheers to each cell.
Yeah.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
if we begin, if we stand up in front of the mirror in the morning and go, oh, I love you, I love you, I love you, and just begin to give ourselves that positive messaging as we begin our day, what happens is the body feels good. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you lower, and you can try this, if you lower yourself down and kind of hunch down and think, oh, I feel bad, I feel tired, you notice right away your energy starts to diminish. But in the moment that you go, oh, I'm so excited, I'm so happy, and I get to all of a sudden, again, you're sitting upright and there's an energy flow
Mm-hmm.
that's positive and productive. We have forgotten that it is our thinking that produces the emotional response.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the emotion that comes first. It's the way we think about events that causes that. And this is why I don't really love the 24-hour news cycle, is because it's going to take one story and repeat it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And the mind, like you had suggested earlier, the mind does not differentiate between real and imagined. It doesn't differentiate from seeing something once or seeing that same thing 1,000 times. It begins to see it as 1,000 things. And when that happens, of course, despair, anxiety. I remember when 9/11 occurred and watching that, turning the TV on it and just in time to watch the second plane hit that second tower. And the emotional response that I had to that, even though I don't live in the US, I live in Canada, but I live in our biggest city, which is Toronto, which is our financial capital. And, we shut down Bay Street, in reaction to that, sent everybody home for fear that we were next.
Right.
So the whole idea of fear and what it does and how it builds, it was like every time that clip of those planes hitting the towers was played over and over and over and over and over again. And it becomes so, it's monumental for sure, but it becomes even more so. And the terror just keeps building.
Yeah.
And we keep watching it. It's like I studied journalism in college, and it's like we're drawn to things that are challenging, difficult, or awful. We want to know more about it.
Yeah, as you're talking, I'm thinking, when we watch the news, it's almost like we put ourselves in it. We put ourselves in the story, right? And so it's to be able to watch the news as an observer, observing what is going on, what we're being told is going on, because I don't trust that what we're being told is always true.
Get opinions.
So just being able to observe that, but to also know that there is something bigger going on, I think, and to understand that this is necessary for this time in order for us to evolve into the next age.
Well, I think that's true. I think everything that has ever happened has caused us to evolve, to move, and to create something new. So I think, as we come to a place of understanding our oneness, come to a place of accepting that we have an impact on the planet, but our thinking has an impact on our bodies, that as we begin to acknowledge all of that and try to our very best to live harmoniously with each other, with our body, right? Got to love the body, got to stop calling it bad, naming it, whatever we're naming it, we got to stop all that stuff. And then come into a place of going, now what? This is what today looks like. Now what? What's the next moment going to bring? And I think that allows us then to create more harmoniously, and our world, I think, would be a much, much better place.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's important not to take things personally. What's going on out there is going on out there. And just like you said, what I can control is going on in here.
Yeah. Yeah, I can control my own thinking, and my thinking produces my emotional response.
And produces my reality.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I will draw into my life whatever it is that I got going on. So it's fascinating to watch negativity, when you're having a bad day, and it's like from there, it's like everything bad happens. It just hits you full force.
Yeah.
Like,
I love I don't know where, I've seen it a number of times now where it's been said that, I prayed for something and I didn't get what I wanted, what I thought I wanted. I got something even better.
Yes. Yes. I got what I needed rather than what I
got
wanted.
what I needed. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true. Well, we're coming to the end. You got a final word of inspiration for our viewers?
I'm just going to say, take care of yourself and do what you need to do to be in a peaceful, happy, joy-filled, wonderful space. And sometimes that is a discipline that you do every single day. And it only can take a couple of minutes. It doesn't need to take time.
That's true. That's true. And I say, doesn't matter what the question is, the answer is always love. And so, Cheryl, so good to spend this time with you, my darling. Deja, thank you for producing. Reverend Robert, thank you so much for getting us started today. Fiona, Wayne, whoever else is in the Samuel, and I'm not sure who else is watching today, but wherever you are and whoever you are, thank you and have a most blessed day. We love you. And be sure to subscribe, share, and hey, leave us a comment or send us an email. Bye for now. See you next week.
See you next
On
week.
behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network. Come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace and blessings.